Nana Akua Birmeh, Principal Architect for Archxenus company. This project is the Mankata Apartments. It was probably our third project with this particular client. All the client wanted was like a really high luxury apartment, a little different from what we have been doing previously, and his target markets also were very high net worth individuals who typically would live in landed properties. So we did the initial concept, built it up. Thankfully now with technology you can see your building even before you start putting block on ground. So we did that, of course, because we are working as a whole team. The engineers were involved. From the concepts we developed, went into the detail stage, construction drawings, went for permits. We got cleared of permits, went on site, and then from there, of course, the supervision process also starts. Typically for supervision, we have every other week a site meeting, which will have all the engineers, all the technical people come together with contractor, because we are also administering the contracts on the side on behalf of the client. So actually every time a contractor needs to be paid, we have to clear it before the client makes that payment. It's always good to have that arrangement to secure the client also. So we went through the full process traditionally. Then of course when we finish, because they are selling these, I mean you do it for everyone anyway, but even especially for a project like this where they are selling off to people, your as-built drawings, it becomes part of their client package. So that everybody that buys gets a set of drawings that tells them this is where your pipes are passing, this is where your electricals are, this is where that is, so you don't go doing something and cause yourself any problems. But basically that also comes as part of your property when you buy it. For us, design-wise, when you go there, you'll notice circulation spaces are generous. You know, because of how we compose it as well, we have rooftop areas here and there, creating gardens, you know, within the volume. And we used to say, you know, like the terrace, like the walkway between two, you know, going to an apartment, it's so huge. It's like, yes, because these people don't want to feel like they are just rubbing off an apartment's neighbors. They own a whole stretch leading to the apartment. So it all fits into the psychology of basically, and it really literally attracted exactly such people. This particular street, it's actually, the project is named after the street. The street is the Mankata Avenue. Lovely street. It's just off the hustle and bustle of airports. In fact, I mean, the street speaks to you that way. So it's definitely one of the reasons we receded the bulk of the building. So it could still maintain that green, because it has a nice green facade, street facade as well. At the time we were designing, most of the buildings were still, you know, the original, in original use. Of course, with what was happening, we understood that things will change eventually. One of the main buildings just across from it, adjacent, it's maybe an 8-story apartment building. So already there was some mass built up there. And then our neighbors also, there's a residence and then an office building also with some massing. But I felt like with the approach we were taking, even if everyone on the street came and just threw everything aside, at least from our side, our site, we could still have that original context. We can preserve some of that identity on Mankata Avenue. Yeah. We managed to form, it's not a courtyard, but we managed to organize the apartments around a certain court, open on one side anyway, which creates a very, it's quite engaging within that void. And that's where you have most of the trees as well. You have, so it's quite, that was quite nice. That's quite special for this block. I think one of the things, strangely, the green color we used, we ended up calling Mankata green because it was, I mean, it was almost like the icing on the cake for the whole experience, you know, the sereneness and all that with the greens. It just added to it so nicely. So we and the clients call it the Mankata green. Also, the volumetrics of it, I think that's also quite special. So what was happening, you're creating a lot of, a lot of open areas, rooftop areas, usable areas on different, the different heights. So really everyone there does feel a sense of ownership of outdoor space somehow, which is quite nice for them. So we have a service section, so staff bankers and things. We actually created a zone in there like that. So you have the most part of it taken by parking. You have that service areas, and then of course the concierge reception area. There happens to be one apartment on the ground, client assisted, but most of them are beyond, yes, above ground. So that's what happens, yeah. For a lot of people that come in at, you know, along the process who maybe don't understand or appreciate where we are coming from or what has inspired the design in the first place. You have things like, oh, but this need to be this big, or does that, you know, without really understanding why you have that. So yes, you would get a lot of things like that. And sometimes for a client that can be a bit difficult, you know, should we really go with this? Can't we make them smaller? Yeah, those were, I mean, generally, you know, defending design related things can be a challenge to different people. I find that when you're working with clients who have commercial agenda, it's a little difficult to drive them in certain directions. First of all, because, I mean, if you're building to sell, you don't want to price yourself out of the market. So things that will seem to impose costs that they haven't projected for, which will then cause them to increase their prices and there's competition. So I find it a little difficult there. Unfortunately, we are also in a system where it's cheaper to import, and it's importing good quality as well. So yes, for here also a lot more importation. So far, and as we are talking about the continuity, in working together, we've found a few things that hook or crook we can rely on to get here and use well. If you notice, a lot of our buildings have the stone facing, because at least we can get it. The expertise is here. It will be done right. And so, and I mean, it's a natural material that is just such a pleasure to have in your space. So, when it comes to those, yes, we of course, you know, we custom designed a lot of things. Well, not a lot, but when the need arises, we would customize something, detail it out, and let the workmen build it. So, if it works, it becomes part of our portfolio for next projects. Things like that, yeah. But yes, majority imports. Why should someone spend their money to come to you? So we don't just design. We don't just do a design. There's so much meaning. You have to give a value that the client cannot get anywhere if not that they came to an architect. You have to put value to it, value beyond the bricks and mortar.